Good morning, everyone. 28th of September already. The month is nearly gone, and we're in the Sable d'Olonne, and everyone's heading south, sort of, and that's pretty cool. Big news yesterday was the Rob, our videographer, decided to just happened to check YouTube. We've now got over 1 million views, which is pretty amazing. If you haven't been there before, Rob's also organised all of the various YouTube action into categories. It's easier to follow. So it's worth a look. All the lives that we did there into Lanzarote there, the boat tours, these updates, they're all in various sections, and there'll be some more things coming. Keep an eye out for the entrant onboard footage, which will be released sort of every day starting in the next day or so. One entrant a day or every couple of days, so that'll be fun. Rob's working on that now. So today it's all looking pretty benign, shouldn't be too much excitement, just to get a bit of a feel for how far this fleet is spread out right now. Nord at the back is about 920 miles from the leader in terms of distance apart. That's quite a big split with the fleet, but at the same time we're going to see a few things bunching up, which is kind of cool. Damien, remember that magic 550 nautical miles? Distance apart right now with the leader is 620 miles, but in terms of the course, he's probably about, Damien's probably about 500 miles behind the leader, so he's picked up about 50 miles, and he's certainly running consistent speeds. So that's kind of cool. The other thing that we haven't looked at for a while is current, so I'll just pull that up now before the weather. If you pull it down, hit the currents, you can see that some people are being affected by the currents. This sort of browny colour is nearly a 1 knot current, so Ian on his present course has got 1 knot of current behind him, and some of the others, Michael Goog is going to cut across this current. There's not much happening down the bottom here, and Abelish might have skimmed the edge of a head current. Elliot's got a head current at the moment. That's probably half a knot or something. But half a knot is 12 miles in a day. You know, it does make a difference, and that'll become a lot more apparent in other parts of the world. So it's occasionally nice to do that. In terms of waves, we all know what to expect when we hit that. It's nothing. That's like a metre and a half, maybe, yeah, metre and a half. That's max. So just back onto the wind. We come down the back. Nord's making good time. He's got plenty of breeze, 5.7 knots, so he's closing the gap a little bit. Ian Herbert Jones, this is kind of interesting, in fact, if I just explain something that I talk about every now and then about sailing away from the course. This is a racing thing. It's one of the obvious principles. This is where you're going. If you look at the wind direction here, it's a north-northeasterly direction because north is up the top. Here's east. Northeast is in the middle. This is a north-northeasterly direction, so it favours that direction. Now Ian has gone off on starboard tack here, and he's sailing away from the course, because if he's keeping the wind on the starboard quarter, if he tacked across and kept it on the port quarter, you can see, because this wind's already got an easterly component, he would actually then be heading down along through the course, which is a lot preferable to being on starboard tack, I've got to tell you. And then interestingly, when I checked, maybe it's night time, maybe he's still asleep. In fact, it would have been at that time, because this report was for 4 o'clock UTC, which is a couple of hours ago, so it definitely was dark, maybe sleeping, and the wind's taking him that way. But then I probably don't need to go into it, but I will, seeing I'm here. I checked, see if it was daylight day, but this is a little bit. Oh no, it's not out of sync because it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm getting confused. I said, oh look, the daylight's there. We're in France and it's already daylight, but this day-night day, I'm not sure. No, it's not connected to the tracker, so it's not quite right. But anyway, that's a bit of a sideline subject. So back to the tracker here. So yes, so Ian is always tending to wander off and sail away from the course, whereas you see other entrants, they're always maintaining a general run-line track. They know that it's important to head towards the next waypoint. So that's kind of interesting. As I said, Damien always makes consistent speeds. He's really working hard in the light weather. All the time I'm looking at Damien when there seems to be, I think he's doing 4 knots, and you go bing and he's doing 5 and a bit. So I got a feeling he's working really hard. Anyway, right now Elliot's running out of breeze, 3.5 knots. It's pretty easy to see that. Pretty easy to see that he's heading into a bit of a hole. Guy and Ayrton, on top of each other still, both doing 5.3 knots, similar. Goog's come down. He's got a nice breeze, 6.4, and he might hold that for a while. So you're going to see him pull away from these guys, Ayrton and so on. The best part about what's going on now is that the leaders are all starting to bunch up, and I think it'll be very interesting in about another 5 days to see what's happening here. And it could become the usual boat race with the 5 people that certainly a lot were predicting as being potential favourites in the race. Not favourites, but the performance guys. And it's all here. The 5 of them, they're all in touch basically. So Kirsten's doing okay, 5.3 knots considering the look of the breeze. Pat, 5.7, a little bit more, because here the breeze is obviously a bit more behind Kirsten, whereas on Pat it's a bit more on the beam, so the boat's going to sail faster anyway. It's a faster point of sailing. Abolish at the moment is doing 5.7, but you can see what's happening here. He's going to drive into no wind, so he's going to lose out on this lot, and the other 2 are going to do okay. Tapio and Simon both in super light winds, 2.6 and 2.5 for Simon, so that's giving these guys here a chance to keep rolling through. And if I now scroll back a bit on the weather so we get the big picture in the next couple of days, gets quite interesting. So we'll slide that forward, 6:30 tomorrow. There's 24 hours ahead. Now, will Kirsten and Pat get through this calm over the next 24 hours? And 24 hours at sort of 5 knots, 120 miles. So let's see how far. 120 miles. So you can see even Kirsten, if she keeps the pressure on when there's just a little bit of breeze, she may get through this hole. I think Pat will definitely get through this hole forming. Tommy is going to miss out, I reckon. I think he's going to be struggling. So absolutely, if they get ahead of this that's forming, then they will do all right. Tapio and Simon look as if they're going to have a slight breeze, so they'll probably maintain 4 knots, so they'll keep the distance. All interesting stuff. The guys at the end, these tail enders here, Damien and so on, they'll come roaring down in this, so they're going to close the gap for sure. Whereas you're looking at 3s and 4s down here, Damien will be doing 6s and 6.5, maybe even 7. He'll put a kite up or something and blast down with this. So you're going to see a bunch up there. In fact, all of these guys are going to do reasonably well. So if I get rid of that and we go through to the next day, the 30th, around about there, boom, boom. Now, it's where it gets interesting. What you're going to see is these 3, whatever happens, they're going to run it. They're going to fall into this hole, the same with Simon and Tapio. But the back enders, Goog and so on, they're going to sail right down to the edge of this and bunch up. Okay, so you're going to see a compression of the fleet, but then who gets across this band before, first is going to make a break, but it's still pretty soft on the other side. So, but Tapio and Simon, they're probably going to reach it first. We'll go through another day. It's stretching down there, not so good, but look what happens here. These guys get in, so Tapio and Simon could be running down in this sort of hole here with very light winds, but if these guys can get across and hit this, there's a difference there, there's a step. So being to the east of the course could be good for a day or something, and once they get there, they're off. So this is going to be critical days here. It's kind of fun, but just take it forward another day. Boom, and it's starting to even out. So then these tail enders would now be about here and see the gaps closed up, so they're going to go. So it's kind of a fun race right now. The next 4 or 5 days is going to be very interesting, but I think generally the fleet's going to close up a bit and it's going to be a real boat race down to Trinidad. So that's about it. Watch this space.